was coming to Northern Ireland. Here in Britain, a deeply unpopular Conservative Prime Minister found himself mired in sleaze, weakened by his failures, and a slave to the right wing of his party. So whilst much has changed, not everything has changed. And then, just as now, a renewed Labour Party has put itself in a position to be the next government, staking out the centre ground and building plans to take the country forward to a new era. The big difference, I think, with 1996 is that we've lost that sense of optimism. After a decade of low growth under the Tories, taxes are rising, inflation is rampant and doing huge damage to households and businesses. In 2022, Britain is stuck with an economy where wages have flatlined and household bills are going through the roof, stuck with broken public services that no longer work for those that they serve, stuck in queues for passports and driving licences, stuck waiting for delayed trains and buses, stuck on hold as we try to get a doctor's appointment. And Britain is also stuck with a government that has no plan, one that was elected on a promise to get Brexit done, but has now decided to reopen those old divisions in order to ensure Britain remains stuck with this failed Prime Minister. But whilst the Conservatives are flailing around, Labour has been claiming the centre ground of British politics once again. Not a mushy place of compromise, but a place driven by purpose, a place driven by optimism. Our driving mission is to get Britain's economy growing again so we can ensure the people and the places who've lost out for too long are once again revitalised and re-energised. And I'm going to be saying a lot about that in the coming weeks and months. But the first step in doing so is to ensure Britain thrives in its new role in the world by ensuring we make Brexit work. Now, there are some who say we don't need Brexit to work. We need to reverse it. I couldn't disagree more. Because you can't move forward or grow the economy or deliver change or win back the trust of those who've lost faith in politics if you're constantly focused on the arguments of the past. We can't afford to spend all of our time looking back over our shoulder, because all the time we're doing that, we're missing what is ahead of us. So let me be very clear. Under Labour, Britain will not go back into the EU. We will not be joining the single market or the customs union. Now, I know that some people don't want to hear that, but it's my job to be frank and to be honest, and you'll always get that from me. The reason I say this is simple. Nothing about revisiting those rows will help stimulate growth, or bring down food prices, or help British business thrive in the modern world. It would simply be a recipe for more division. It would distract us from taking on the challenges that are facing people. And it would ensure that Britain remains stuck for another decade. Under Labour, that simply will not happen. What you will get under Labour is a plan, one that will deliver on the opportunities Britain has to sort out the poor deal Boris Johnson signed and end the Brexit divisions once and for all. It's a proper plan to make Brexit work. Now, I know I would never be allowed to take this stage without telling you what that plan looks like. So let me set out for you how it works. The first step is clear and obvious. We have to sort out the Northern Ireland Protocol. If you're going to make Brexit work, that has to be the starting point. Now, just a few weeks ago, as Adrian said, I had the great pleasure of being in Dublin and in Belfast, where I worked for many years. I was struck by the fact that businesses there are clear. They can make the protocol work. The solutions are there. They've listed them. The desire is there. What was missing was trust, the crucial ingredient that has always characterised progress in relations between our islands. That's been eroded by this government. Labour will change that. We will be the honest broker our countries need, and we will get the protocol working, and we will make it the springboard to securing a better deal for the British people. As well as building trust, Labour would eliminate most border checks created by the Tory Brexit deal, with a new veterinary agreement for agri-products between the UK and the EU. And we will work with businesses to put in place a better scheme to allow low-risk goods to enter Northern Ireland without unnecessary checks. The second step we would take is to tear down unnecessary barriers. Of course, we recognise that outside the single market and customs union, we will not be able to deliver completely frictionless trade with the EU. But there are things we can do to make trade easier. Labour would extend the new veterinary agreement to cover all of the United Kingdom, seeking to build on agreements and mechanisms already in place between the EU and other countries, benefiting our exporters at a stroke. Now, there was a story on the news the other day that you may have seen about a wet wipe island that's formed in the Thames. This is made up of fat and oil and household rubbish. It's 1 metre deep and the size of 2 tennis courts. It's blocking the flow of the river and changing the shape of the riverbed. You couldn't imagine a better metaphor for the Tory Brexit deal. They've created a hulking fatberg of red tape and bureaucracy, one that is hampering the flow of British business. We will break that barrier down, remove that fatberg, unclog the arteries of our economy, and allow trade to flourish once more. The third step will be to support Britain's world-leading industries. That means mutual recognition of professional qualifications, ensuring our services can compete, and restoring access to funding and vital research programmes. Step 4 would be to ensure we keep Britain safe. For too long, the government has been blasé about European security. The actions of Putin must jolt us back into reality. Because in the modern world, if one of us is not safe, then none of us are safe. Strengthening security cooperation with our friends and allies is vital. And I know that firsthand from my experience when I was Director of Public Prosecutions. We can't take risks with terrorism, organised crime and people trafficking. That's why Labour will seek to arrange new security arrangements to defend our borders, and why we will share data, intelligence and best practice. And it's why we will set up joint intelligence and working here and in Europe. The final part of our plan will be to invest in Britain. The lesson of the last decade is that if we're to achieve economic growth and see the benefits flowing to every part of our country, we can't be bystanders. The Tory plan set out by Jacob Rees-Mogg is about cutting standards, regulations and protections before stepping back and gawping at the power of the market. And that won't work. It's a surefire way for Britain to lose the global race for jobs and for trade. It'll exacerbate the problems we already face. It will not deliver on the promise of Brexit. Labour's plan is very different. We will work hand in hand with businesses to bring good, clean jobs, the future, to our shores, harnessing the power of government alongside the ingenuity of our brilliant private sector. Together, we will open up new markets and create new opportunities. The government have missed Brexit opportunities time and again, and it beggars belief that during a cost of living crisis, they haven't cut VAT on energy bills. Labour will be sharper than this. We will use our flexibility outside the EU to ensure British regulation is adapted to suit British needs. That is Labour's plan to make Brexit work. It's a plan that puts the divisions of the past behind us and seizes the challenges and opportunities of the future. It is a plan that helps everyone, from exporters to musicians, to thrive. It's a plan to reverse the Tory spiral of low growth and high tax. A plan that puts Britain in the best place to compete on the global stage. A plan that will help us achieve our central mission of delivering economic growth to Britain and spreading it throughout the country. But there's something even more crucial than that. In 2016, the British people voted for change. The very narrow question that was on the ballot paper, leaving or remaining in the EU, is now in the past. But the hope that underpinned that vote, the desire for a better, fairer future for our country, is no closer to being delivered. We will not return to freedom of movement to create short-term fixes. Instead, we will invest in our people and our places and deliver on the promise our country has. If we're to restore faith in politics as a force for good, we must now get on with delivering on that promise. The Tories have no idea how to do that. Labour does. Labour has a plan. And this plan, a plan to make Brexit work, is the first stage of delivering on that change and delivering a better future for our country. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair. God, it's hot up there.
You're watching BBC News. We've been listening to Keir Starmer. So Keir Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party, setting out his plans for making Brexit work. He was speaking at the Centre for European Reform at the Irish Embassy in central London. Worth remembering, of course, that after the referendum in 2016, as the Brexit minister, he'd said originally that he would be campaigning in principle to accept the decision of the referendum, but believed at the time that it was the wrong decision to be out of the European Union. But now he's been setting out his plans to reverse elements of Brexit. The mission, he said, was to make Brexit work, not to revisit the old issues and schisms of the Brexit debate itself.